Hello and welcome. Today's Pick a Card reading, we are asking what positive changes are headed your way. What positive changes are ahead of you? The energies have been pretty heavy in the last couple weeks. There's a lot of very deep, far-reaching energy that has been boiling up throughout eclipse season and this Mercury retrograde. So I wanted to take a moment and try and catch the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. So we want to take a look at why are we even drudging through all of this heavy energy? And it is for the positive changes ahead. So I've prepared 3 groups. Let me show you. I've chosen to have this reading accompanied by some seashells. These are all part of conscious, and I just thought the idea of something being broken and still absolutely stunningly beautiful was very fitting for today's reading. So this is group 1. This is your seashell. And then I've picked one tarot card for each group, which we will get into in your reading. And then this is group 2. This is your seashell. Got a little bit of a cat ear here. Very smooth. That is group 2. And then group 3. I don't know what happened there. I was just mesmerized by your shell, group 3, because it is so slim, it is so petite. And it has the impression of being fragile, but I don't know. I'm not going to test it. But ultimately, I think it's pretty sturdy. And lots of, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Okay, that is group 3. So I'm going to give you a moment to focus on which group is calling you the most. Timestamps will be in the description below. In the description below, you will also find my links to my socials so that you're sure to be following the right ones. And also the link to my website if you wanted to book a personal reading. Okay, I'm going to let you choose your pile and I will meet you at your reading. Hi group 1, this is your reading. If you chose this beautiful partial conch, we're going to put that up here. Ooh, kind of makes my skin crawl when my nails touch it. It's not a great feeling. But it's beautiful to look at. So let's get into it. We're gonna check out if you've been here before, if you've specifically been in group 1 before, you know that I go with the flow, and in group 1 we typically establish the flow. Okay, so let's see. We're going to turn over your tarot card first. Okay, so we have the Ace of Pentacles, positive changes coming towards you. Being the Ace of Pentacles, that's beautiful energy to have coming towards you as a positive change. So there might be some positive changes when it comes to finances, investments, in how you spend your money, and possibly how you spend your time, how you spend your skills. Some positive adjustments. You also might be getting some kind of I'm hearing payback, but like in a positive sense. So you might be, now I heard payday, like somebody might be getting some kind of payday, whether that is, I mean, it could be all kinds of things. I'm not expecting anything super unrealistic, like you're winning the lottery if you don't even play. If you play the lottery, maybe you'll win something. But this is something more realistic in terms of something that you've already put energy towards. So the vibe that I'm getting is, for example, that would be a tax return coming in, right? You've already done the work on filing your taxes, something like that. But that's also just kind of like the sprouting of a certain energy, because it's like it starts off with receiving something, and that is sort of like an investment. So let's say you are receiving your tax refund money. Let's say you are receiving, you just booked a gig that is more money than you've had in a while. Something in that shape or form where it's going to actually set you up in a way where you can use those funds towards putting it back into what you are doing to create more. So it kind of becomes like a perpetual motion of energy. So it feels more perpetual and not just like here's a lump sum and then that's it. It's what you do with that energy that comes in that is going to make this more perpetual, because we're talking about positive changes. This isn't just, your life doesn't get changed with just one lump sum, unless it's a huge lump sum, but I'm trying to be realistic here, okay? I'm definitely feeling that there is something about discipline here as well. So we might be smarter with our funds, but also we want to think about resources not just in terms of funds. So this would be being smarter with what we have at our disposal, what we have access to. So if you're an artist, this is understanding how you can use local resources or resources that you already have that you may have not been utilizing to their full potential. So that's not just if you're an artist, but that's really kind of in any form, because this can also be about really this has a lot to do with sort of discipline in a way, discipline that will pay off. So whether this is getting up earlier in the mornings and really kind of, this has just a lot to do with valuing your time, valuing the things that you already have access to. And again, I do feel like there is, because it is the Ace of Pentacles, there is an opportunity that will come in. So it's kind of like you're already riding a wave, and then there's this part of the universe that just kind of like catches you on the wave and takes you even further than you've gone before. Okay. Let's put that off to the side, and then let's get some, which deck do I want to, let's use this one. Okay, so we are asking for positive changes ahead for group 1. For group 1, positive changes ahead. We have the Judgment card. We have the Star. You know what yep. This is interesting. I was seeing kind of like a scene from like a TV show or a movie. And what I was seeing was the view of a microphone standing on a stage, and it's almost like a POV, right? So it's like it wasn't me, but the point of view that I had was somebody is about to speak into a microphone or sing into a microphone, and it's kind of like that intense moment of silence before the first note comes out of your mouth, because it's like, how this is the time to show how you want to do it. Oh, this is the time to show how you want to do it. A lot of times we have very broad definitions of our dreams, right? Our dream job, our dream partner, our dream life. And if we keep those terms really broad, then we can kind of sort of make everything fit into it. So let's say, I'm just going to stick with the microphone. Let's say your dream is to be a singer. There is a time where you practice and you sing other people's songs. But then there is a time where it's like, but what is your message? What are you, like, this is the time where you show how do you do it. And that requires a lot of confidence, but it also requires a lot of investment in yourself. And that's why this Ace of Pentacles came out. The positive changes that we're doing is we're starting to invest more into building ourselves up to how we want to do it. We have the Two of Cups. Yeah, we're recognizing where we are not living in alignment, where we are not living up to our potential. With this Two of Cups underneath the Judgment card, where are we not, we can't, and that's kind of why I think I mentioned earlier, you know, you can't expect to win the lottery if you're not playing. So this is actually, the positive changes that are coming into your life is actually putting in all you got and then seeing what comes out of it, instead of thinking, I could put in all I have, but I'm playing it safe. And then, of course, you don't get what you expect out of it. You don't get that back because you only... this is so... It's a lot of different things. Like, it applies in a lot of different ways. So that's why I'm having a hard time choosing a lane here. Because the way I'm seeing it with this Ace of Pentacles, it's kind of like thinking, you know, you have... Let's say you have 4 quarters, right? You have 4 coins that amount to $1. And you're thinking, I can put all 4 coins into this machine that gives me like a little toy. Or I can put only 2 coins in and I get a smaller toy. And so because you'd rather hold on to the extra 2 coins, you get the smaller toy, even though you actually want the bigger toy. The smaller toy isn't even something that you want. You want the bigger toy. But somehow the feeling of giving up all of your coins at once makes you fear that you'll be left with nothing. And so you'd rather have 2 in the hand. That's a saying, right? 2 in the hand is better than 1 on the roof. Is that how it goes? But that's where that saying is like, it's hindering us from actually fully investing in ourselves. Because that's what I'm feeling. It's like this idea of, because again, I feel like this has a lot to do. Oh, look at this. The Tower came out in reverse. The imagery of this is so cool. But wait, I was interrupting my own thought. Damn it, it's gone. Okay, I need to focus on this. The imagery is so cool because she is looking, I mean, she's looking kind of onwards, but she's by water. So it kind of looks like the tower is actually a reflection in the water, which to me makes it feel like, oh my God, that is so cool. Because this feels, again, like the visuals coming through for your reading are very cinematic, very refined. I know that doesn't do anything for you, but it's a really cool experience for me. Because what I'm seeing here is someone looking in the water, and it's almost like your hopes and dreams that you're projecting onto the water, which the water represents our emotions. We're projecting the worst. We're projecting the fact that it's not going to come into fruition, right? Putting all coins in makes you feel like I've lost all my coins. And yet what we see behind her is, because she has her eyes downward, but we see that behind her is the night sky, which is a endless possibility, endless possibility. And even though the Star card is a very hopeful card, and it is coming out that way because that's how I'm reading it, but the positioning just shows that this person is very focused on all the ways that things could go wrong, which isn't necessarily, it's not that you shouldn't be doing that, because it gives you a leg up in terms of being prepared or being realistic. I think you just don't realize that you're probably a little bit over realistic. But I think you're over realistic because you're overcompensating for something. Yeah, like we're overcompensating for something that, because the wish feels a little bit too large. Okay. I apologize for the sirens in the background. I cannot control them. Positive changes coming your way is you really taking more control in exactly how you're showing up. You're taking more accountability. You're letting desire drive you more, which in the past I feel like it was more, you let rationality drive you more. But you've gotten to a point where it's like, I can't deny this desire. And so because I think you're mainly kind of like a rational person, you've actually inched towards it. This is like making a very sensible investment. It's like, because you're so anxious about investing your time and money and resources, because of that you do your research, and it's just we've gotten at a point where it's like, okay, research doesn't help you anymore. You've gotten all the information. What comes next is the doing. What comes next is the showing up, and then kind of growing into it. I feel like positive changes that are coming for you have a lot to do with you actually standing by what you believe, which what you believe is that you are a capable person that could, it's kind of like, I could do it if I wanted to. I could do it if I wanted to. And it's like, okay, well, we think you want to, so let's do it. That's what this feels like. Well, if you want it, if you do have that feeling of like you could do it if you wanted to, then let's do it. I'm hearing a song. It's Katy Perry, but it's the only part that I heard is "Shut up and put your money where your mouth is." I don't know if that was aimed at me or at you. Probably both of us, but that's what I'm hearing. Shut up and put your money where your mouth is. That's what you get for waking up in Vegas. It's like, yeah, like you wanted to come to Vegas, so gamble. So gamble a little bit. And I'm not telling anyone to make any kind of shady investments in terms of financial. I'm not giving any financial advice. Please, no. But there is something here. No way. Listen, I typically am not a fan of people gasping in readings, but are you kidding me? We got the gambler. We got the Gambler. Willingness to follow intuition even when others doubt it. And that's exactly, this is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not giving any financial advice, but this goes beyond finances. This is about betting on yourself. But there is something where if you're a little bit confused and if you're feeling like, wait, is this person pushing me to do something that I don't feel comfortable doing? Then no, then this is not your reading, and that's totally fine. But if you feel like, oh, she is calling me out, I have been really wanting to do that and I'm making excuses to not do it, that's who this is for. Or, it doesn't have to be that extreme. It could just be like you've asked for a confirmation, right? But this isn't, if you feel like I'm pushing you off a ledge, this is not your reading. Because this isn't me pushing you off a ledge. This is me being like, yeah, I'm absolutely confirming that you are in that position, right? So interesting. The shadow attribute, relying on luck rather than hard work. I am not concerned that that applies to you, because I think, like I said, we're making that shift from being a little bit more rational towards not ignoring our intuition, because we know, and that's part of the thing with the Eight of Cups. First of all, the Eight of Cups is typically a card of eclipse, and we just had the last eclipse. And this card represents recognizing that what you have in front of you may be enough, but you know there's more. And you cannot deny that feeling, and so we leave behind these cups to pursue the Ten of Cups. Because there's something where you can feel it, and that's what's really passionate about it. It has to do with something that you're passionate about. Okay, let me get one more archetype card of what kind of energy they want you leaning into for this positive change. Oh, we have Beggar. Confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, awakens the spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem. Confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival. This is again taking me back to that imagery of not wanting to put in 4 coins, because then you feel like you've lost all coins. And it's like there's some kind of disconnect of, when we think of that kind of situation, the coins go in, you turn the knob, and then the toy comes out, right? But if you slow that down, if you slow that process down and apply it to the way it is a metaphor to life, the moment of you putting all your coins into something and waiting for the gift to arrive, that moment can be really anxiety inducing. That moment can stretch out quite long. And so I think that's why this Beggar card comes up, because it's about controlling this feeling of I've given it all away, and leaning more into the idea of I have planted the seed. Confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, awakens the spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem, the knowledge of what you're capable of. We have the first house, we have Saturn, and we have Cancer. This has a lot to do with you actually working with your intuition, because I think you've gotten to a point where you can tell what is your intuition, but you don't act upon it. I think you've gotten to a point where it's like, oh yeah, I know what my gut is telling me, and you might be quite proud of your intuition, but it's like you don't like acting on it. And therefore you don't bet on yourself. You don't bet on yourself very much. But positive changes that are coming in is that we're getting a grip on this. We're moving towards betting on ourselves because our intuition is guiding us. And not letting the idea of lack, the how do I say this? The visual representation, like not letting the idea of us being surrounded by lack keep us in a lack mentality. And that is to say, I understand real world 3D constraints are very real. But there's something where we are freeing ourselves of that idea of, I don't have any, so I'll never have any. In some form. Okay, let's see. What oracle cards do we want? Let's do the moon, since the moon is pretty prevalent in this time and in this reading as well. With that Cancer energy and that 8 of Cups. For group 1, what positive changes are coming? What positive changes are coming for group 1? My goodness. I got 2 cards that fell on the ground. Ooh, look at this. We got the Path and we got Darkness, but it came out in reverse. And typically I'm not too keen on taking oracle cards in reverse, but this feels significant, especially because we have the Power card at the bottom of the deck. I think you've seen the Path for quite some time. Ooh, okay, I'm getting a visual. Having seen the Path for quite some time, but you were afraid to move, so you kept still. Kind of like the Star card. You kind of just took a seat and you were like, I'm just going to observe for a while. But because of that, you've been there so long that your eyes have adjusted to the darkness. So all you can see now is that light. I said in the beginning, in the opener, we're trying to find the light at the end of the tunnel, right? You have been seeing that light, and your eyes have been adjusting to the darkness around you. But because of that, that light is like, it's so strong, and it's just like, well, that's the only direction that I feel like I should take. And now the positive changes coming in is you actually taking steps in that direction and taking your power back. Instead of standing still and you know, trying to figure things out, trying to wait things out. It's very much an energy of like, all right, let's go. That's a positive change. It's kind of, the positive change is that you're sitting on packed bags and you're actually ready to go. In some metaphorical sense. For group 1, let's get some oracle cards for positive changes. Oh, a jumper. We have Adorn. And let's get one more. Positive changes. I like that this Adorn card, these flowers are connecting to this Queen of Wands. Very much about confidence. And night vision, look at that. Connecting to this darkness, even the fact that it came out in reverse, right? Connecting to this darkness card. Night vision is like, we've been sitting here long enough, we've found a way out. Positive changes. You're going to bet on yourself. And I, for one, am excited for you. And now keep in mind that whenever you bet on yourself, especially because you seem like a very rational person, you don't have to bet at all, right? I mean, that actually kind of takes us back to this idea of, I don't know, I'm feeling torn. I'm feeling torn because I too am a very rational person, but sometimes there are certain moves that have to be made in order for something to change. And it's like you can't do it halfway. You can't, you know, if you want that bigger toy, you're gonna have to give up all 4 coins, that kind of thing. Now, let's get one last oracle card and we'll read this one from the booklet. What is that? Change of season. I gasped because I haven't seen this card, and I've had this deck for a while. Change of season, transformation, life's ups and downs, development. In the center of this card stands a woman surrounded by blowing leaves, flowers, and snowflakes. As the wind blows them swirling up to her, she raises an arm in protection or welcome. We are not sure. This card reminds us that seasons change just as we do. Nothing is ever still, not a river, not even the mighty oak, and certainly not us. We are in constant states of transformation. Even when we feel overwhelmed, if we can just quietly be, we will be moving in spite of ourselves. Ooh, you will be moving in spite of yourself. When life whirls around us, let the certainty of the cycle of seasons be a grounding force. Oh, I like that. The certainty of the cycle of seasons, a grounding force. That is so beautiful, because that's the thing. We get so, especially with this tower energy down here, right? It can be so unnerving when a season changes, a metaphorical season. But know that just like after winter must come spring, that we go through those same seasons. And there is a season of, it feels like it was stillness in a material sense, but not on a spiritual and not on a mental level. You weren't still on a mental level. But now the season is changing and it's shifting you into physical movement of some shape. And you've done the work that was necessary in order to start this journey. So that I'm don't know what happened there right now. Those are the positive changes heading your way. That's what I was trying to say. These are the positive changes heading your way, and they're beautiful. I'm really excited. I'm seeing a lot of flowers. I'm seeing a lot of, I just get this feeling of walking towards, you know, especially because I'd mentioned walking towards the light, and that visual from the beginning of the microphone, there was a spotlight on you. Like, this doesn't have to mean you're going to pursue anything public. This can also just be, you know, making a decision of this, I want to change my major in school, and this is what's really calling me, and you've been thinking about it and doing things in the background, and this is the act of actually doing the administrative aspect of changing majors. So it can apply in a lot of ways. Please keep that in mind. But it's beautiful because I think it has a lot to do with alignment with this Two of Cups, and the fact that it's not that you were necessarily misaligned, it's just that now you have a different understanding of what alignment really means to you, and you didn't have that understanding previously, so you couldn't, you know, it wasn't necessarily that you were misaligned, you just weren't focused on alignment, and now we're actually focused on it a bit more. That is what I'm picking up for you. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much, Group 1. I really hope it resonated, and I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 2. This is your reading if you chose this seashell. It almost looks like it has teeth. I'm going to set this right up here, and then we're going to take a look at your tarot card. We have the Hierophant. So positive changes headed your way. Interesting. I feel a similar energy as with Group 1, but different. You might be a step ahead. You might be a step ahead because this is showing me strong dedication. It's also a lot about grasping big picture. Also part of the, this is kind of random, but part of the positive changes headed your way, I think, could have to do with having an outlook, changing your outlook in a way that includes more humorous notes. More humorous notes, meaning it's not so much that you're going to be laughing at whatever is happening to you, but it's kind of like having that ability to tap into seeing the overall irony in things, and the irony of human existence is what I'm hearing, so I have to say it. Like just greater connections beyond that kind of very close up and self-centered point of view. Not self-centered in like an egoic way necessarily, but self-centered, like all of our views are self-centered, right? We cannot remove ourselves from ourselves. It's impossible, the way that consciousness is set up. But this is the ability to kind of tap into a greater understanding. More compassion. Just and I'm still picking up on that humor. It's kind of like the idea of just kind of like not taking things as serious as you did before, because you recognize that it's not personal. It's like I'm hearing it's not that deep. You know, when the universe sometimes seems to be lashing out at you, especially during Mercury retrograde, right? We can have days where it's just like one thing after another, and it's like this isn't working, that isn't working, and then it starts to feel like a personal attack. It starts to feel very personal because you're experiencing it at the center, right? And it's like it starts to feel like, what am I doing wrong? What is your problem with me? But that's where I'm picking up on that you know, I'm getting this energy vibe of when you've had a day like that, and at some point you start venting to your friend, and your friend cracks a joke, and then that just kind of like lets you release. Because that's the other thing. Sometimes we have to we store a lot of anxious energy in our body, and sometimes we have to release that energy in one shape or form. And that's not what I was trying to say. Release our energy in one way or another. And sometimes that happens through crying. And sometimes that happens through having like a really, really good belly laugh. Even when it's not that funny. It's just it helps you release some of that energy. So yeah, I'm seeing definitely like an uptick in humor for you. And if right now you're like, no, definitely not, like there's nothing funny about my situation, give it some time. There's not, I mean, not saying there are some awful situations that people have to deal with where it's like you would never expect there to be a humorous moment, but through human interaction, you know, we always find something where it's like, that was a really awkward moment, or that was a really awkward silence, or, you know, like humor is very important. It's coming through so strongly with this card. Humor is a very important balm. Wow. Humor is a very important balm to the irritation of life. That sounds a little dramatic, but that was a beautiful way of it coming through. Okay. For group 2. Positive changes coming for group 2. We have the Queen of Wands. See, I feel like you're like just 1 or 2 steps ahead of group 1, because group 1 actually ended with the Queen of Wands on this side. And I shuffled. Positive changes ahead. The Chariot. Awesome. Positive changes ahead for group 2. And the World. Oh my goodness, you are definitely like ready to take it on. head on, no matter what it is. Okay, and because I do feel like this is like a build up from group one, I will just say it. In group one, there was this feeling of we're going from very mental energy to actually doing things that we've been wanting to do. And so here I'm seeing that we're a step ahead, and we are positive changes. You are going to be traveling, quite frankly. This is such travel energy, but here's the thing, not for everyone is this going to translate to physical travel. It could be, you know, I'm seeing, especially with this car, I'm seeing road trips, I'm seeing flying to other countries, like travel that really expands your point of view, especially with this Hierophant energy, that really expands, that kind of just makes you understand, like, wow, it's not all about me. That's crazy. Because in group one, it's like this energy is like we were so in our heads, and here in this group, it's like we've gotten out of our heads. And now we're just like, okay, well, if it's not all about me, then show me what you got, world. Okay, we have the Strength card at the bottom of the deck. I didn't even realize that. It's just such an attitude of like, show me what you got. I really like this. This is really like, this is summer vibes. This is summer vibes of like, I am ready to learn. I'm getting the, in group one as well, like the visuals that I'm receiving today are all very cinematic for some reason. And so if this was a movie, it's giving very much like coming of age during the summer kind of movie. Having experiences where it's like, they might be a little chaotic, but we're not taking ourselves so serious. But at the same time, it's incredible because by not taking yourself so serious, you're actually applying yourself in a very dedicated way. How can I make sense of this? I feel it. It's like by not taking yourself so serious, you actually show up more serious than you have in the past. How does that make sense? I mean, it makes sense, but I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. It's like when people say, this was a thing on social media for a little while, like 2 years back or something, when people were saying, just do it for the plot. Like, I just kind of like, I don't know, I'm seeing images of like girls that were like, I started doing this crazy morning routine just like, oh no, that's what it was. I'm doing it for the plot, and I'm doing it as a bit. Doing something as a bit, saying like, you know what, I'm doing like this crazy morning routine, but it's a bit. Like, I'm doing this just as a joke because like clearly this can't change my life. But because you're committed to that bit, you actually keep doing it, and it does change your life. It's not going to change your life overnight, but there are certain habits that you can implement where it's like, wow, this is life-changing because I live a different day-to-day life now than I did before I did this. I hope that makes sense. Talk to me about this Queen of Wands. Four of Wands. Yes, we are out. We are doing the bit. We are committing to the bit. I love this energy because it's just very much like, okay, how... It's giving us this feeling of like a fun kind of competition with yourself of like, okay, well, how committed to the bit can I get? It's really kind of silly, but in the best way. We have the Two of Cups. The Two of Cups came out in the last group as well, and we're talking about alignment here. Look at the Hierophant again. You quite literally, okay, here's a couple things. You might be experiencing a 9th house perfection year. Very possible with these Hierophant cards. During a ninth house perfection year, it will show up differently depending on if you have planets in your 9th house, or if or depending on which zodiac sign rules over your 9th house. But 9th house perfection years oftentimes include moving large distances or traveling large distances in a way that really just cracks you open, that just shows you a whole new way of life. And it feels like you're doing this with, like, I'm getting La Dolce Vita. Like, this is giving a little bit of Eat, Pray, Love. Oh, for sure. The more I look at it, yeah, for sure. Although I don't know if it's Eat, Pray, Love as much as party, travel, love. There's something really beautiful about your inner stability. It's like you know that you can go into places where not everything mirrors exactly what or who you are, because you've become very clear on, okay, this is who I am right now. I also don't feel like you're not very, how do I say this? You're not very attached to your current version of self. Ooh, you're in between. You're not attached to your current version of self. You know that you're in an in-between phase, and so you're really like hoping to soak up some new things, some new skills. You're very open, you're very receptive, and you're very much willing to learn new things. You have beautiful energy right now, or coming up. Like I said, if right now you feel like, you know, things are not quite as funny as I put them, and not quite as exciting, then this could be your summer coming up, because this is definitely giving me summer vibes in a lot of ways. You could be taking a job that kind of takes you out of your comfort zone. I'm also seeing, I don't know why, I keep seeing air travel with this, but I'm seeing like literally a flight attendant. So you might actually become a flight attendant in some way. There's something like you might take a job that really kind of takes you out of your comfort zone, and you realize like how insignificant some of the things that used to hold you back really are. That's so interesting. I love that we have the Magician at the bottom of the deck, because it just indicates that you're just soaking things up. Absolutely. So let me try and apply that for different scenarios. So this could be that you are actually soaking up, like you're starting a new job and you completely like blossom in this career. Or you're dedicating yourself quite literally to your spiritual journey, or to any kind of journey of learning something about the cosmos, about people, about art, about astrology, religions, theology. Like there's just so many ways that this could go, where you're really like approaching something without heavy expectations. You're just very open to approaching something without preset notions of this is exactly what this has to do for me. You're just very open to trying something and seeing how I don't know why, but I have to say whatever pops up in my brain. Be careful that you don't get attached to any kind of cult-like following. Absolutely. I don't know where that came from, but do not, you know, there's a lot of times, especially with spiritual leaders, they can be very charming, they can be very seductive in a way. And I see that you are very open to learning and experiencing. Just make sure that you keep in mind to do your own understanding of any kind of material that you digest, right? And not that you just get spoon-fed any kind of ideology. Do your own research, because I could definitely see how this energy would be very sort of vulnerable to being sucked up by something that would offer you that kind of stability. Because that's the thing. I think you are in search of something to believe in. Woo, that's a lot. Okay, let's get some oracle cards. I want to get some archetype cards on what kind of energy Spirit wants you to embrace to allow in these positive changes. What kind of energy do you want group 2 to embrace? We have Midas, Miser. This card's been coming out a lot recently. I think because we're in a real kind of like shifting energy and a very like make it or break it kind of vibe. And so this card just reminds me of like life is what you make it. Entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold. Delight in sharing life's riches. And that's what I'm seeing here a lot. We're getting a lot of like, with the Hierophant, we're getting a lot of Jupiter energy in general. And so it's really about like understanding that life's riches isn't just money. Understanding that life's riches isn't just nice cars, nice watches, nice clothes. Like there's something here where you're really looking to gain a lot more than perhaps the average consumer in a capitalist society. Let me just put it that way. So then we have engineer, ability to give creative energy a practical expression, talent for designing resolutions to common dilemmas. Here's something else that I'm seeing. I could definitely see you being dedicated to social media in terms of kind of like influencer or marketing, marketing. Listen, influencer culture and marketing, I feel like in the last couple of years has gotten a really bad reputation. But marketing is a fascinating, oh, I just had a deja vu. Marketing is a fascinating art form which really relies heavily on psychology and understanding human needs. Of course, as with any kind of skill or power, it can be used for good or it can be used for bad, but marketing in itself isn't inherently bad. And so I'm seeing here that there is that potential for someone who is really just kind of, I just heard jovial. Like you're a jovial energy, you get along well with people. Like there's just something where something just clicks and you understand something about people, and that kind of gives you, it's just so much Jupiter energy, to be honest. It gives you like an understanding that comes to you quite naturally. And there are other people that have to work really hard to gain that kind of perspective and understanding. But also what I'm seeing here with engineer and Midas is that I could easily see you, positive changes that are coming ahead, or that you're learning something that you're going to be able to apply in a very practical way, in a way that not a lot of people see the benefit in it yet. And for that matter, what I'm picking up on is actually like using certain technology in a way that allows you a lot of freedom. So whether that is AI technology, just like learning something and being able to utilize it in a way that really kind of is very beneficial for you. Look, are you kidding me? The readings today have been so aligned. It's incredible. We have the 9th house. We have the 9th house, which is, I spoke about the 9th house perfection year earlier. The Hierophant is very much 9th house energy. And then we have Mars taking action. That's what I was saying earlier. Like your energy just feels like very ready, like experience, like wanting, like this is bungee jumping. This is like, let's just try it. Aries, oh my God, even more so, because Mars rules Aries. Aries is a cardinal energy, and it's like you want to experience, you want to learn through experience, absolutely. You want to understand something that interests you and you're just like, I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to like read a million books beforehand, but at the same time, it's like reverse engineering. Like you start doing and then you start like contextualizing. Okay. I was trying to see if I'm picking up on any other angles here, but I don't necessarily feel like this has to do with necessarily like romance or anything. We have that Two of Cups, but that's not coming through very strong. The Two of Cups for me in this context is more about alignment and finding, especially because we had said engineering, AI, this could have to do with some kind of healing, like either specifically medicine or herbal medicine. There's definitely something here about like learning how to heal and what tools to use to heal, something like that. Oh, is that 2 cards? It is. All right. I wanted 2 cards, so here we go. Look at that. We have abundance and nourishment. Okay, positive changes coming your way are abundance and nourishment. Not bad, not bad. I would not decline those if they came up at my doorstep. But here's what I'm feeling with that. Abundance and nourishment. What I was just talking about in terms of healing might directly relate to this nourishment card. There could be some kind of knowledge that you're gaining around. Honestly, for a lot of you, I think this is a gaining an understanding of how your abundance is already around you and how your abundance is not what you thought it would be. How your abundance is the things that you are rich in already. And I think you're realizing that in contrast to learning about something or someone, a different society, a different place. Like somehow we're learning through contrast how abundant we are. And that kind of then shows us like, well, then I need to make use of this abundance in a way that really utilizes it at its full potential. Let's get some more oracle cards. For group 2, positive changes. Oh, maybe. Positive changes coming for group. It does want out. Come on. And one more. Positive changes for group 2. I will take it. We have support. Absolutely. And we have the veil. Yeah. So support is just indicating again that Jupiter energy. I'm really surprised we didn't get Jupiter with this, with the dice, but I think that's because the Mars energy is what's really important, because it's you acting upon. The Jupiter energy is more of the passive energy around you, but the active energy here is that Mars energy of you deciding to go out and pursue, to learn. And then that passive energy, I think, is kind of like this Jupiter bubble around you of support and knowledge and support in seeking the kind of experiences that will actually employ your potential. That's what I'm getting. And with the veil, it is really kind of like taking accountability, taking a look at yourself, but it's also about getting closer with yourself. But it's interesting because I do feel that you're getting closer with yourself, gaining a better perspective of yourself by contrast, like I said. So by going somewhere else, by experiencing something outside of yourself, you're actually gaining a lot more understanding about what's inside of yourself. Very beautiful. Now, let's get one last oracle card, and this one we're going to read from the booklet. This seems like a really exciting, I mean, honestly, this could be some kind of quite literally some kind of like trip that you're going on that's really going to open your eyes in a lot of ways. Let's get one last card for group 2. Positive changes coming your way for group 2. House of Flowers, absolutely beautiful. That is this idea of you having so much abundance within that it's like bursting. You're bursting at the seams. 36. House of Flowers, power of nature, joy of life, diversity, and beauty. Out of this small white house on the top of the hill burst flowers, full of life and rich in colors. It is like an explosion. The two ladies walking by look tiny in comparison to the giant falling leaves. They enjoy the enormity of nature, exactly that, like seeing something that is so large outside of yourself just puts something within you into perspective. They enjoy the enormity of nature, the power of its diversity. But even a single bloom in a vase can transform a space, each petal a world unto itself and a wonder of creation. This card signals love for life in this moment full of energy, beauty, and joy. That is a perfect card for this reading. Love it. Honestly, the positive changes ahead for you, I think, are a really good time during the summer months, but it's like it's a really good time because you're very open to it. You're not limiting yourself, and you're not coming into this situation with an attitude of like, I already know everything. Like, you're very receptive to a new, broader perspective, and that is absolutely going to pay off. So I'm very excited for you. There is definitely something that you're going to learn, something that somewhere where you're expanding your horizon. The positive changes that are coming are all going to give you little tools along the way. Like it's like going on a trip. Like, I don't know if somebody's going to go backpacking, but there's something that you're going to learn about the world and yourself, and you come back from that as a person that has so many more actual skills. Like, and that's not to say that you don't have any before this, but it's just, it's a different set of skills that is something that you can't quite put into words, and that you can only gain through this kind of experience. And I think a lot of that has to do with really, really gaining compassion outside of yourself. And that kind of informing some kind of studies that you have. So whether this is you having studied psychology and then you go Western psychology and then you go travel somewhere and you learn about a different part of psychology, or something that's maybe not labeled as psychology, but really kind of informs and enriches the knowledge that you already have on psychology, and you would have never found that in a textbook. That's what I'm feeling. It's something that cannot be studied in a textbook, and that's what you're embarking on, and that is a beautiful positive change, and I'm going to leave it there. Very excited for you, very excited for this journey of true understanding, it feels like. Yeah. I hope that it resonated. Thanks for hanging out, and I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care. Hi, Group 3. This is your reading if you chose this very delicate, I think I was trying to say ridges. I like how that was like over an hour ago, and now it's coming into my brain that I'm seeing it again. Ridges is the word that I was looking for. Look at this. I don't do ASMR content. We're going to set this right up here. And then we're going to take a look at your card, Group 3. Oh, we have Temperance. Oh, I love this. Let me just show you a little close up as much as I can without showing all this man's business. But take a look at these snails down here. What I'm feeling for you, what positive changes that are ahead of you, are a slowing down, but slowing down in a way where it's more of like a savoring, not slowing down for the purposes of like time standing still or things not moving, but it's like things will still move, but it's just a more joyful movement, more natural movement is kind of what I'm hearing as well. There's some, I do feel like there is a time of emotional exchange, but like emotional in a good way. That doesn't necessarily mean that the emotions that will come up will be feeling good in the moment, but that ultimately this is an exchange that leads to healing. Could very well be between you and another person, but could also be between you and yourself. So it can very much have to do with kind of reaching a new level of accountability and honesty with yourself. Compassion for yourself or for someone else. Gaining new perspective. But overall, I'm just feeling kind of like an easing up of energy. Let's get some tarot cards out for you. For group 3, let's talk about positive changes ahead. I am also feeling if you're having some kind of physical issues, please know that I'm not diagnosing anyone here, and I don't give any kind of medical advice. But if you are experiencing any kind of physical issues and ailments, I do see that kind of easing up, but not necessarily on its own. So this Temperance card is asking you to pay attention to where and why your body is inflamed, and to kind of treat the root cause, not just the sensation. So not just the symptom, but to treat the root cause. Because with Temperance, we're talking about medication, or we're talking about some kind of attention towards the pain, towards the ache, to level out the experience, right? So it's not necessarily, oh, your pain is just going to go away on its own, but it's paying attention to the reaction between, and also therefore not over medicating, right? How much do you truly need in order to feel like the pain has been addressed? Because there's also a difference between addressing pain and kind of over medicating, because then you feel better, right? There's definitely something about tempering intake in some shape or form. For group 3, can we get some cards about positive changes ahead? For group 3, positive changes ahead. We have the Four of Swords. Okay, definitely we're slowing down, we're resting, we're healing. Was that the Hermit? Four of Swords and the Hermit. We're definitely spending some time alone, it seems, but perhaps needed. And the Seven of Wands. I definitely, this strongly to me feels like we're fighting off something physically. And look, we have the Nine of Pentacles. I think we'll be fighting it off successfully. We're fighting off something. So in a lot of ways, again, whenever it comes, any kind of reading that comes through like this, I have to be very, very careful, because I cannot control the way you receive this reading, right? So I just have to be very clear on my intentions. And so I am not here to give any kind of medical diagnosis. Tarot is a form of confirming what your intuition is telling you, not confirming what your anxiety is telling you. And so it takes a lot of discernment whenever we deal with topics such as physical health. But that is coming through strongly for me, so I do have to say it. And so what I am seeing here is that there is a possibility that some of you are dealing with some kind of physical ailment, some kind of illness, and dealing with a form of depression, or dealing with a form of really just low energy, anything that really could keep you in a state of needing a lot of rest. There can be lots of reasons for that, right? So many reasons. Grief, postpartum, so there's just so many layers to this. But here's the thing. Your body is doing what it's supposed to do. So when you are feeling really, really low on energy, pay attention to why. That's why I was talking about not just treating the symptoms, but we need to pay attention to the root causes. There's something about gaining an understanding of what is requiring us to rest. And only once we have understood that, only once we have journeyed to finding the cause for that, then we know what to fight. Then we know how to address the issue. This is really making me think of, this reading is heavy on just kind of like health. And it's up to you to know if we're talking about physical health or mental health or any kind of health. Well-being is how I should put it, any kind of well-being. But I'm getting visual hits of all of like the medical shows that I used to watch when I was a teenager. Like I was really obsessed with watching House MD. And something that always blew my mind while watching that is how much of medicine is really just, let's just throw these pills at that problem and then we'll see what happens, right? Diagnostics is all about, it could be lots of things. There are illnesses where just like a certain, there's not just like one test that can tell you, oh, this is exactly what it is, right? And so the reason I'm bringing this up in detail is because that's what I'm feeling here, is that we are in a position where we are experiencing something and we don't understand why. But the positive change that I'm seeing here is that we are gaining a better understanding of why. And then once we have that understanding, we're able to address the root cause. There were so many episodes of House where it's like, the patient was crazy sick with some weird, like odd thing, and they tried all these different methods of addressing it, and then in the end it was just like the simplest thing, and it's just they didn't know it, right? You don't know it until you know it, until you find it. And then once they found the simplest thing, it's like, oh, here, all you have to do is take this pill. Might not be that easy for you, but it's very much like once we know, we're actually prepared and in a position to be like, okay, now we can handle this. And then you do. And then you do. With this Nine of Pentacles, this indicates that, we get control of this. And that's a positive change that I'm seeing coming for you. Again, please know that I'm not here to make any diagnostics for you, but I am seeing that in a lot of ways, this is helping us. Something that I'm seeing, like one form that I see this play out in, is having some kind of imbalance where your emotions kind of like overcome you in a way where you feel like you're out of control. This might be a change that comes through actual therapy, seeking professional support that then explores, how are you feeling when this happens? How are you feeling when that happens? What happens when this occurs? Like just just exploring with someone that is a professional, and then being able to come up with, this would be behavioral therapy, with a response to whenever you feel that way, right? So I'm seeing somebody, either you start seeing, look at that, we have the Five of Wands. Either you start some form of therapy, whether that is behavioral, mental, or physical therapy. Like there's some thing that you start. And please know that this also doesn't have to be that extreme. The energy is coming in very strongly, but this can still apply even if you just feel like there's just a slight imbalance in your mood sometimes, right? This has to do with going inward and trying to find the root cause and not just treating the symptoms. Look at that. We have the Eight of Wands with the Hermit. Let me get the last card out. And we have the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups oftentimes to me represents medicine, honestly. It's like finding that perfect dosage. And the Two of Pentacles, interesting. Okay, so with this Five of Wands underneath the Four of Swords, it's that we're facing this conflict. And the conflict is so overwhelming. Oh, look at these wands. We have the Five of Wands, the Eight of Wands, and the Seven of Wands. This is almost like, I'm telling you, this is really strong on like physical health, because this is almost what I'm feeling in terms of like your antibodies. Like when there's an infection in your body, there are, please, I'm not a medical expert at all. But I know that there are times where your body your antibodies start attacking healthy cells because they don't know, there's some kind of miscommunication and there's some kind of just chaos happens and suddenly your body is attacking itself, right? Your antibodies are just, everything's inflamed and everything is attacking everything. That does happen. And again, it doesn't have to be physical. It could also be your hormones being so out of whack that mentally you start attacking yourself. So the Hermit indicates that we are on a journey to figuring out, making sense of things. The Eight of Wands to me is always about grounding energy in a methodical way. So that could be running tests. That could be running tests as in, when I do this, how do I feel? When I do that, how do I feel? Like it could be that, or it could be trying different medications, or it could be trying different methods of combating feeling like this. So that whether that's reading different self-help books, like this can be in so many different layers, right? And then from everything, attacking everything, to trying to eliminate causes, we then figure out something, we at least make sense of something in a way where we can utilize some kind of knowledge that we get out of this towards identifying what needs to be addressed. Oh, I really hope that this doesn't sound vague, because it makes sense in my head. I just don't want to rely too heavily on like the medication aspect of it, but that's in a lot of ways that this is what this feels like. Especially like, let's say, having a depressive episode and recognizing, it could be recognizing that we're taking our medication wrong, or we're taking medication that is actually conflicting, or we're taking medication that just doesn't work for us, and then taking some time to kind of make sense of this and really kind of trying to document, is this kind of behavior a side effect of that medication, or is this behavior something that I inherently like am dealing with? And so sometimes in order to do that, we have to eliminate certain things. I'm not telling anyone to get off your medication. Please, please, please consult with health professionals always. But that's just the way that I'm recognizing this, is that we're trying to be more mindful of what's going in, what's coming out. And then that allowing us to isolate kind of what the problem is so that we can focus our attention on the root cause directly with direct attention. And then the Two of Pentacles to me is like, okay, so now how are we feeling? Oops. The Queen of Pentacles. All right, I like that. Okay, let me see if I can apply this in any other metaphor so we're not so stuck on the idea of it having to do with health. Okay, earlier I talked about this could be some kind of emotional exchange, whether with yourself, which still kind of goes hand in hand with like the idea of depression or any kind of mental ailment. But let's say this is about you and another person, because that is very possible as well, right? So let's say this is about an emotional exchange. Let's remember this is about positive changes. So this is about an emotional exchange that we have with someone else. So what I'm seeing is that perhaps there is a time of stillness within this connection, whether this is a friendship, a love situation, or family. But there was some kind of stillness and some kind of like not speaking your mind and just kind of holding back and really kind of just dealing with the conflict internally, but then recognizing that that really just sets you up for more and more conflict every time you interact with this person. So what do? We try and figure out, okay, what is it that is actually bothering me? What is it? How have they hurt me? How is this an issue? And also at that point in time, with the Hermit energy, we're not just asking ourselves, what did they do to me? But we also ask ourselves, what did I do? How did I contribute to this situation? And then understanding that accountability and really kind of taking a step back to want to focus on healing for both parties involved really kind of helps you to make more sense of these things versus everything being a free-for-all, right? And so then again, being able to overcome, because the Seven of Wands is all about being able to face adversity, being able to overcome this adversity through compassion and love, and then understanding that two truths can be valid at the same time, and understanding that, you know, that someone can love me, but they can also hurt me. I can love someone, but I can also hurt them. That is both true, that, you know, my actions, even though I love someone, my actions are still capable of hurting them. So there's some grace that we're bringing into some kind of situation here. Okay, let's roll some dice. And a lot of that grace is coming from really kind of taking a step back and really, again, looking at the root cause, whether this has to do with health or like physical health or the emotional health of a relationship. It's really about looking at the root causes of something and not just the signs of the symptoms. Okay, we have the first house, we have Gemini energy, and we have Uranus. The first house is the house of self. Then Gemini energy is about understanding, learning something. And then Uranus energy, to me actually Uranus energy is also very much about healing. When I think about like the Star card and such, Uranus energy is about researching for sure, researching for healing, bringing in change. Uranus is also chaos, but sometimes chaos is necessary in order to bring in order, you know. I know that feels kind of vague, but it makes sense in my head. Because I'm just thinking of Uranus being a bringer of revolution, and sometimes, you know, there has to be some kind of uprising that shows us where the deficit really is so that we can address it and then heal it moving forward. So again, that applies to our health, that also applies to our relationships. And again, this Gemini energy is all about the dedication to figuring it out, the curiosity to understanding. But it's also now giving me Two of Cups energy, which has like the symbol of medicine on it again. So who knows? I don't want to box in this message, but I just want everyone to use lots of discernment whenever you consume tarot readings in general, but whenever you consume tarot readings that, you know, where the messaging could have a lot of implications on how you feel, I just want you to understand that this is a general reading, and that this isn't necessarily energy that is set in stone. This should confirm things that you're already feeling, but just to be aware that this isn't me dictating your fate in any way. Okay, let's get 2 archetype cards on what kind of energy Spirit wants you to embrace to invite in these changes, these positive changes, because that I want to get back to that, the fact that these are positive changes. I do see healing in some shape or form. What kind of energies do you want Group 3 to embrace? We have Beggar. Interesting, that came out for Group 1 as well. What kind of energies do you want? And we have Messiah. Wow. Okay, so for Messiah it says serving humanity with humility. And then for Beggar it says confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival. Oof. Awakens the spiritual authority of humility. That's the second time we got humility. Compassion and self-esteem. Okay, so confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, I feel like is pretty on point for this reading so far. Because again, whether we are dealing with physical health, mental health, or the emotional health of a relationship, it is still the confrontation of how empowered do you feel when it comes down to the bare minimum. How empowered, like how can you embrace your own empowerment when you feel that you are suffering from health issues? Again, health in a broad term, right? How can you find ways to empower yourself at that level? And then awakens the spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem, serving humanity with humility. I want to get one more because that Messiah is a lot, meaning it feels like a lot of responsibility, because there's this idea of, you know, going through really, really, really difficult times gracefully, and there's such a chasm between these two here. It's like it's like you can feel really small and insignificant, or you can feel like you're part of everything. And it's just like, how are those the only 2 options? Let me get you one to connect the 2. Because this almost feels like know your place, but your place is huge. It's like, what? I'm confused. We have King, know your place. We have enlightened, benevolent leadership benefiting those in your charge. This card also is peeking out at the top, and it's detective. Great powers of observation and intuition, desire to seek out the truth. I wanted to show that because it connects to the Hermit card. So that seeking out, I wonder if this has to do with you finding your way out of a really, really difficult conflict, whether again that is a conflict on an emotional level, a conflict on a mental level, or a conflict on a physical level. But you finding your way out of a conflict, really kind of empowering you to be in a position where you can help others do the same, which is a lot of responsibility, right? You're not supposed to heal just for the benefit of others. You're supposed to heal for you. And that is a lifelong process. There seems to be some form of real responsibility here, though. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure, okay, let me try and remove my own ego from this. That Hermit card could definitely indicate that this is part of your spiritual journey, that this conflict that you're experiencing is part of your journey that helps you make sense of the world. And then with that knowledge, you then are able to turn right back around, because the Hermit is a solitary person that leaves society and is just out on his own with spirit as their guide. And so I'm getting this energy of you could then, once you figured it out, have a strong desire to head back into town. Is kind of the imagery that I'm seeing, heading back into town because you've made sense of something and you want to help the kind of people that struggled with this the way that you struggled with it. But at the same time, there's something here about not necessarily feeling the need not feeling like there is necessarily a cure, but there's a way to live. There's a way to manage, and you want to help the people that, like you in the past, struggled to manage with whatever this is. And you're like, okay, I've been able to make sense of it, so now I'm coming back to face it. Even though a lot of people, I think, once they face that, they want to ignore that they ever faced it because they don't want to face it again. They don't want to have to be reminded, even whether they're healed or not. And I think you come back to face it because you're like, I can help others make sense out of this. And that's where this humility and this compassion comes from, this Ace of Cups. This is incredible because it just feels like a lot of responsibility, and I would not blame you for really taking your time with this because it's a lot of responsibility to step up into. This King card says, enlightened, benevolent leadership benefiting those in your charge. This is a deeply spiritual and deeply intrinsic journey that you have been on, and you don't owe anyone insight into that, but I think you're going to be in a place where you're somehow able to help others. I'm feeling really kind of torn about this energy because I feel like with this Messiah energy, it says serving humanity with humility. And I think of the people that deal with really severe illnesses and how oftentimes, especially like children who deal with severe illness, how they always seem so wise beyond anything, and how they're always so... That comes from this as well, confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival. Finding a way to be so full of love and so full of light when you've been dealt a difficult a difficult hand. It's like this idea of a child being so grown because of the hardship it had to face, when it's like it makes me feel awe for how incredibly capable and strong and beautiful that child is. But it also makes me feel sad because I just wish it didn't have to ever prove how powerful and strong and beautiful it is, you know? Like that's where I'm feeling torn. It's like incredibly empowering energy, but at the same time it's the kind of energy where you're like, I wish you didn't have to experience all of that just to get there. And just to get there isn't even fair, because it's like it's something that not everyone is able to embrace. So it's not even anything that I can equate to anything. Wow, this is a very, oh my god, I just realized I completely got carried away. Let's get some more oracle cards. This is a very intense reading. And the thing is that I feel like I got carried away because I'm really trying to make sense of it, and I just feel like it's something that I possibly am not in a position to be able to make sense of. And I think only you who's experiencing this can really make sense of it, which is part of the burden. For group 3, let's focus on positive changes. And that's the thing, again, we're still looking, this is part of your empowerment. This is you getting your groove back. This is healing, but still I'm just kind of like shook at how much it takes. For group 3, positive changes ahead. We have boundaries. And we have extremes. Self-reflection is at the bottom of the deck. This is interesting. Your reading is so layered. Because even though we're still looking at positive changes, it just feels like it's positive in comparison to probably what came before the Temperance. And that's why I'm so like, wow, how is this, in comparison to other storylines, it feels like, is this even positive? But it is. It's just, I don't even know what you've gone through like before, right? So it just feels like, it feels like a lot. So this boundaries card along with the first house here is definitely telling me, along with the Four of Swords and the Hermit card, again, if this is about some kind of interpersonal relationship, then this is the boundaries that were very necessary, that stillness, like it was necessary for you to remove yourself from the influence of another in some shape or form. That also comes into play with physical health though, like having to, because I keep getting like immune system things, like your antibodies and stuff like that. Like I keep seeing how protecting your immune system is really important. And in extremes could have to do with coming off of something, coming off, ooh. Oh my goodness. I'm just realizing, please only take this if it resonates, but I'm just realizing this could be somebody coming off of an addiction. I'm just kind of like in awe that I didn't see that previously. This could be coming off an addiction. And so in that case, you could have been kind of like, this Five of Wands could have been withdrawals and treating the cause, meaning being in some kind of environment where hopefully you would be able to kind of address where this addiction came from and how it took root, and then being able to address this with compassion for yourself and the rest of your life having to manage in being sober, which is a balancing act that never ends. And then the idea here with Messiah and beggar and king, perhaps stepping up in some kind of position where you can help others that suffered as you have in the past. And it's kind of like you recognizing, if I can do it, anyone can do it, which unfortunately is not true, but there's definitely something where you're really kind of stepping up. Positive changes. So for someone, this could be the positive change would be that you are really kind of getting control over an addiction. And addiction come in many, many forms, right? It doesn't have to be just a drug addiction. This could be alcohol. This could be being addicted to your phone, being addicted to social media, being addicted to really, like, it can be so many things. And so this extremes card is giving me this idea of withdrawals along with this 5 of Wands, but it's kind of like breaking a fever. Once you break a fever, then it's like it comes down again, right? That's why I keep seeing antibodies, like something, there's definitely something of like, if this is some form of addiction where it's just so unhealthy for your body, where your body like started fighting it, and it just created so much chaos and conflict within your physical body. That is also to say that if, going back to this being a relationship of some sort, it could be that there is a certain person that caused so much anxiety to you that your body was literally kind of like acting up when you were around them and giving you indications, like you'd start sweating and you'd only feel safe when you were kind of like at a physical distance from them. So just something to be aware of. But I do feel like we're breaking the fever. And also like having, especially because the 2 of Pentacles is like a seesaw energy, right? Knowing your limitations, having boundaries and extremes, I think is you've learned your limitations, you've learned your limits. And now you know how far to take it, and now you know how strong you are, and it's like, okay, now I live in balance. Because both the 2 of Pentacles and Temperance card is about maintaining balance. So it's like I've seen the best, I've seen the worst, and now I am focused on remaining in the middle, remaining in balance. Wow, this is such a, whew. If you're still here, thank you. If this resonates, wow, this is definitely not for everyone. Okay, let's get some oracle cards for group 3. Positive changes. Whoops. Yes, we got rebirth. And what was this one? Protection. I love this. We got rebirth and protection. Rebirth is like having that new life after getting something out of your system. Again, whether this is an actual addiction or whether this is medication that was kind of driving you nuts, sometimes it's just a matter of getting off of that birth control, right? Ladies, you know what I mean? So whether that's coming off of a substance or coming off of a person, like there's something that we're coming off of and recognizing like, okay, now I live differently. Or we healed and it's like there was a before, there's a me before this and there's a me after this. Protection, you are definitely, I mean, with the Messiah card earlier, there's definitely, look at, we have Queen at the bottom of the deck. There's definitely something about you that is highly protected, and I think we've seen the worst of it. I think is what I'm feeling called to say. Okay, I'm gonna get one last oracle card. This one we're gonna read from the booklets. I'm sorry that your reading went so long, but I really got kind of lost in the cards there for a bit. I always want to do the reading justice, so sometimes it takes a little longer. For group 3, one last card for positive changes ahead. Look at that, we have the gardener. We are taking care of ourselves. Let me read this from the booklet. That is 827. Non-judgment, acceptance, self-compassion. How many times did I say compassion? I really feel like this could be for people coming off of an addiction, especially with that Messiah card and the beggar card. It's like, how, again, extremes, right? Having seen the best, having seen the worst, knowing your potential, and still loving yourself regardless, and still making room for hope for yourself regardless. Like you are capable of living your best self, and you're capable of living your worst self, and you survived it all. Oof. Okay, I just needed to let that out. Standing proud in a lush green garden, a woman holds a growing bulb in her arms. 2 small houses spring from the plant, and her skirt is transformed into a house. She is the gardener of her soul, the caretaker of her home. Her feelings are the flowers of her garden. By taking care of herself, she keeps growing stronger. But sometimes uninvited guests invade the garden, intruders like jealousy or shame. If we recognize these as neither good nor bad, but something to be investigated and accepted, we can treat ourselves with compassion and keep blooming. How beautiful. That is so perfect. Okay. I really don't even think I have more to add to that. I should just leave it there, because I feel like I could go on and on and on, but it really comes down to the same concept of, you know, this is, there was a you before and there is a you after, and both yous are valid. Both versions of yourself are valid, and both versions of yourself deserve your compassion and your love, because you wouldn't be the you that you are now or the you that you're going to be if the other one didn't exist. Okay? The 2 of Pentacles, rebirth, and Gemini energy. There's so much duality here. The Messiah and beggar, like so much duality. So just have compassion for yourself and understand that you are capable of navigating that duality. Absolutely. You have put in so much work. You are putting in so much work. You're trying. You're trying. And that's the most important part. You are trying to make sense of things. And that's what's going to keep you going. Okay? You got this. I absolutely believe in you. I have no doubt in my mind. I don't know what it is that you're battling, but you absolutely got this. Okay? All right. Thank you for hanging out. I do hope it was helpful, and I hope it resonated, and I do hope I get to read for you again sometime. Until then, take care.